that we'll make sure the presents are in here for a little bit of a festive shot here, just for the season. All right, welcome. I've decided to actually film a December TBR. Do I ever stick to these December TBRs or like any TBR in general? No, I don't. I generally don't read anything that's on them. Well, I shouldn't say I don't read anything that's on them. I read stuff that's on them. I do not complete them very well. I read like all this like 10 books and I'll read maybe like 2. The goal though is to read some of these books. So since it is the last month of the year, I've decided let's do a cleanup. So I have some books that like we have started this year, but we are not finished with them. And I have not touched them in a while. So we should pick them back up and try to finish them this year yet. So the first one I have is City of Glass by Cassandra Clare. I have read this series before, but I'm filming a series vlog for it, you know? And like, it's gonna be in 2 parts. And, you know, part 1 is books 1 through 3. So we should probably finish book 3 here. I don't feel like this book has been out forever, so I don't feel like I really have to explain the plot too much. They're in Alicante, and, you know, they gotta stop the demons in Valentine. That's like the whole plot of the whole series, you know? Not much explanation here. The second book we need to finish off of my Let's Catch Up TBR is The Institute by Stephen King. I bought this book back at the beginning of the year, and I started it in March for a buddy read. I'm really glad none of the buddies have asked if I'm done with it, because we've continued to read other Stephen King books in that time frame. I just haven't read this one. I read exactly 72 pages and put it down and never picked it back up. But what I've gathered is that children are stolen. And that it's a very gripping horror book. I mean, that's what the back of it says. The Washington Post says gripping horror, classic King. And, you know, we should probably get one of these big chunky books off my TBR, right? Like, we should probably try to wrap up this buddy read. Like, there are other buddy reads I haven't finished, but since I physically started this book, I should probably finish it, right? Like, I should probably do that. Hello, ma'am. Did you come to visit me? Yeah, you come to visit. Yeah, I like the Christmas tree. You sitting in my spot, Mom. You like to sit in front of the Christmas tree with the equipment lights. Book 3 on my Let's Wrap Up TBR is Jar of Hearts by Jennifer Hillier. I got this book from the library in October. And they so gracefully, when November 18th came around and I hadn't returned the book, they renewed it for me. So I had to finish this before December 16th because that's when they renewed it for. I am a good chunk through. We are like over halfway through and it is very good. I haven't got to the whole gripping part yet, but since everyone has high remarks for this, I'm expecting in this last chunk we'll get a little bit more grippy and I won't put it down. It also just, it never came to fit any of the prompts really for the Get a Clue when I was reading it. So this is something else we have to finish up this month. So we're going to move on from the cleanup TBR. I've tried to keep it very minimal. This year was trying to keep it minimal. Don't read too many books at one time. So the next ones I want to get to are books I want to get to off my shelf yet this year. So the first one I have is The Ghost and the Twins by Bobbi Holmes. This is book 33 in a cozy mystery series in the Haunting Danielle series. I have been waiting. This book came out on Halloween. I have been waiting to read this because she's finally, this makes it seem like, you know, it says preparing for the anticipated arrival. If these twins are not born in this book, I am going to scream. We have been waiting several books at this point for our main character Danielle to give birth to her children, and I am highly anticipating. Like, it's been going on, like, they release 3 books a year in this series, and like, it's been at least a year and a half, I swear. Maybe even 2 years. Like, how long is she pregnant for? Is she pregnant for like, is she like an elephant? Is she pregnant for 2 years? Have the babies already. Come on. The next one is A Court of Thorns and Roses. I am picking up this one because Katie from I Would Rather Be Reading has inspired me to pick it up, because Katie and Lil are hosting a Court of Books readathon in December. Am I trying to make the rest of the books fit into a prompt? Yeah, I'm going to try. But I have decided I finally need to pick up ACOTAR and try it out. I hear this is a Beauty and the Beast retelling, and like, Beauty and the Beast retellings are some of my favorite besides mythology. If we're like doing like fairy tale retellings, Beauty and the Beast is the top one for me. So I figure I really need to read the series, so we better start with book 1. Next, I have some festive reads to go with the season. And the first one I've had on my shelf for several years, like probably since it came out. I can't remember what year this came out in, but it's definitely been on my shelf since high school. So I have Let It Snow by John Green, Maureen Johnson, and Lauren Rachel. I butchered that, but I've had this on my shelf for years. It is, from what I understand, a nice collaboration between some of these authors, and they each write like their own like little story in it. Like, if I flip to the contents, it's like they each write like a little novella of some festive times. So I thought this would be nice, warm and cozy to read, probably during the week of like Christmas is probably what my plan is going to be for this one, just so I can get this off my shelf finally, because it's been on there for way too long. The next holiday read I have is inspired by B&K Bookclub, hosted by Brittany Loves Reading, and I think Kelsey changed her channel name. I think it's Kelsey Reads now, maybe. Either way, everyone I mentioned will be linked in the description. But for B&K's December pick, they picked out Wreck the Hall by Tessa Bailey. I was going to get this from the library, but it so happens that one of my friends is a big Tessa Bailey fan, and she happened to have this book on her shelf and read it in November. So she was like, I don't really need the book anymore. So score, we got a copy of the book now. And I'm looking forward to this one because I've never read a Tessa Bailey, but this one seems cute. I just, I love the color. I'm excited because I love book club reads, so this is a top book for me to read this month. The last 2 books on my TBR for this month are both ebooks that I have on Libby. So I have Among the Betrayed by Margaret Peterson Haddix, which is book 3 in the Shadow Children series. And the whole premise of the Shadow Children series is that it's a dystopian universe in which takes place in the US, in which you're not allowed to have 3 children. You can only have 2 children, and all 3rd, 4th, whatever children are illegal. And this series follows our 3rd child named Luke. By the end of the first book, he is in danger of being discovered that he's a 3rd child. So he assumes the identity of a legal child who has recently passed. His parents are willing to risk their lives as well to give them their recently deceased son's ID card so that he can try to live a normal life, so he can come out of hiding almost. But he is also still hiding because he can't be himself. And in book 2, we see how Luke is adjusting to being outside of the 4 walls of his family's home, which he's never been in his life, really. Like, he went outside a few times, but it gets cut pretty short in the first book, where he's stuck inside of his family's home. And so he's now at this boarding school, and it's him trying to fit in. And they're almost betrayed while they're at this boarding school. Like, someone tries to report them to the population police. Before I understand, I've read this book series years and years ago. This was a book series we read in junior high, and I really wanted to pick it back up for that nostalgia feeling. So I just got the waitlist for book 3, which is Among the Betrayed. And in Among the Betrayed, from what I understand, is one of those people who supposedly betrayed us. We are now in their point of view. So we're going to find out what happens while she's being held, while this child is being held in a prison by the population police. So the next one I have is Murder at the Piccadilly Playhouse by C.J. Archer. I am so excited for this one. I got it actually back in October and I never got to it. So my loan expired on Libby and then there was a hold. So it just became available again last night. And I'm so excited to go ahead and read it because it is a historical cozy mystery. So in it, we follow a young woman named Cleopatra Fox in the early 1900s. So the first book takes place in 1899 on New Year's Eve. So we're now in the new century and she is in London and she is solving crimes. She solved the murder that happened in her uncle's hotel, which she has now come to live with because her parents have her parents have passed away. Her grandparents have recently passed away. So she has no one else to live with. And as a young woman in the early 1900s, you cannot live by yourself, obviously. So she is now moving in with her uncle and she starts to solve this crime. So it sounds like we have another crime on our hands, and this time it's thankfully not at our hotel. It's at the playhouse that's nearby. So that encompasses the books I want to read in December here. I'm hoping I can get through most of them. The Libby ones are an absolute must. I have to get them read, and I definitely want to get through the holiday ones because I can't read holiday books in January. Now it's too late. That's why I've been putting off Let It Snow for so long. But that wraps up today's video.